What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Shuttle Drive. I'm your host, Wade Harrison. And in today's episode, I got one of my buddies from across the pond, Mr. Matthew Brook of Matthew Brook Coaching on YouTube. And if you guys haven't seen that, you need to go check it out because it's pretty good stuff. Matt, how's it going, buddy?
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, doing all right.
Yeah, so you're from over in Southampton,
Yeah,
Wales.
Southampton, England, close enough.
Oh, darn.
Yeah.
You Welsh. I was hoping to put you in the Welsh.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can lump me together with that if you want. There's probably some blood in there somewhere.
So, let people know. So where is Southampton into relation to like London? Everybody...
Okay, cool. Yeah. For American viewers, head south until you get your feet wet, and then go slightly west, and you're in Southampton. Southampton being South Coast, logically.
Okay, you're a Southern boy. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, one of the I've been wanting to reach out to you because one of the things that you have been doing over the past maybe a couple of years here, you've started a YouTube channel where you started doing like playboat coaching. And what I like about yours a little different, you do Slicy boat coaching, which there's not a lot of that out there. We can find a lot on like rock stars and jeds and jitsus, people doing a lot of whole moves, but you have a lot of Slicy boat moves. And what kind of like made you kind of come up with that concept?
Oh gosh, I mean, I don't know if I'd be bold enough to claim that I made the concept up.
Oh, but... You're not the first one. Yeah. But like anything on YouTube, I'm not the first guy to do a podcast on YouTube either.
But I think it's a passion thing. And a lot of that stems from having paddled in the Southeast. Like I have flown over and paddled in the Southeast a number of times, and have good buddies out there, and that's a place that has always been close to my heart. And so much of the culture in the Southeast, or at least Long Creek, and around the green as well, you've got so many people who are really, really keen to get out and do rodeo rather than doing modern freestyle. Get out and splat some rocks and leave some plastic behind, and experiment with verticality and that kind of third dimension of kayaking in a way that is less prescribed and more free flowing, free form, and to me that captures so much of what kayaking should be: just getting out and experimenting and having fun with friends in a really beautiful place. And there's no like agenda or and no need for one person to come out on top. It's just like everyone's stoked that a thing has been achieved. It doesn't matter who did it, kind of thing. So that's I guess where I come from with it.
So I that's where we also met, was when you came out, and I think maybe a couple times together. And you had not done much Slicy boating before you came over to the US.
Pretty much not. Like, I paddled a half slice. I think I'm trying to think. When we paddled together, I think was 2018, and I'd probably been living pretty much exclusively in an RPM for about 2 years prior to that. Well, it was what I had money and availability for. So
this is in the UK.
In the UK, and had probably, I'd got to a point where that was basically the only boat I was paddling, and so I suppose understanding verticality a little bit on the stern, but before coming out and paddling at that stage, hadn't really engaged with the idea of like not having volume in front of me.
A full slice, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Because I've talked to, you're not the first one that I've talked to from like the UK, and the full slice market over there is just not very, like, it's not a big market. Am I correct on that?
So true. I think in part that's because modern freestyle is really popular in the UK.
Yes, they love it. Yeah,
whole boating especially. Yeah. And we have a lot of really good freestylers. We have a lot of people who are really pushing the envelope. Think of like Harry Price and Otti and all of those people who are regularly training up and Pringle, like all those people who are regularly training up in Nottingham, and making real inroads into advancing competition freestyle, and particularly whole boating. And so there are some really great minds in terms of kind of applying themselves to developing new moves and trying new stuff out. But in terms of actually getting out in a longer plastic boat, that, you know, non-carbon, that's it's not something you see very much. And I think it's really strange because in many ways our rivers bear a lot of relation to southeastern white water. You know, it's generally speaking low volume, especially your average kind of club kayaker in the UK. They've organized their trip months and months in advance. You can't plan it for the rain, and so they paddle on whatever they can get. And actually that means that you're usually getting low volume with not much water in it and a lot of rock, and so it would suit, and yet it doesn't appear so much.
What's some of the, I know one of the boats that I've seen a lot of your videos, I think it's a Preon Delirious, right?
Yeah, Preon Delirious.
Is that your kind of go-to slice boat? Full slice?
That's my full slice of choice. And again, that stems from that same trip in 2018, running Tallulah with the Long Creek boys.
They love their Delirious,
and
that's for sure.
And I think I borrowed that one off Hunter Cooper.
That makes sense.
And because he was basically like, oh, I've got this lying around, you've got a spare, you know, have a go with it. And I remember paddling Tallulah with it and just having an absolute whale of a time. Subbing so deep off Oceania that I thought I was going to Narnia, you know.
Yeah, because full slice, you know, if anyone doesn't know the Tallulah, you know, full slice, I've got some videos up of that too. Full slice and the Tallulah, it's such a good full slice run. Be careful running Oceania, you can get hurt if you hit the rocks, but outside Oceania, it's so fun, ain't it? There's a lot.
Like everything's playable. Everything is playable on that river, and
it's a short river, but we'll end up staying 6 hours out there.
Yeah, that's it. Like you do one lap in a day and you've had a wicked time, you know. And you'll come out exhausted. But yeah, so I think I paddled one that time on Tallulah, and then was like, I need to get one of these when I go home. And finally, I think it's probably 6 months of hunting that for a German boat, not very many of them in the UK.
Crazy, ain't
it? It was stupid, I think, but I mean, an old German boat, I guess, but still.
But you think they'd be around because the plastic on Preon, it's blow molded, they last forever.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Pretty much indestructible.
Yeah, you can stand on the cockpit and jump and it does nothing.
For it's probably 20-year-old full slice boat.
Yeah, I think it's a Kenny Mutton design from 1999 maybe, or maybe 2001. It's around that. It's turn of the millennium.
And you probably can back me up on this. On a wave, it spins like nobody's business.
Well, I mean, it's basically 7.5 feet of boat, maybe 7 point something, 7.1. And the best part of all of that is flat in the water all the time. So with like super hard edges and nice wide portion under your bum. So it's really progressive for the age of the boat. Like it's very loose comparatively, and you know, I've taken it out in some fairly big surf on the sea as well, and I wouldn't go as far as to say that it performs like a surf boat, because it doesn't. It's not fast in that respect, but it's enough that you can get a good bottom turn and a good top turn and re-entry and all that sort of stuff with it. Like
what is the boat over there? So let's say what is the kind of, is there a full size? Is it the low keys probably the most common?
Maybe, yeah. Or possibly the Ozone nowadays, which I would argue it's pushing whether you want to call that a full slice or not. Yeah, exactly.
3/4 slice is what I call it. Not considered a full.
Yeah, I think if people are keen to get into slice boating of any kind in the UK, full slice, I'm talking, they're picking up old school boats. They're picking up, your Dagger Medievals or wave sport, the wave sport like Triple X or the Siren. Those boats are semi-common. Triple X more so. I'm trying to think what else is around. Like there aren't that many designs.
There might be some Eskimo floating around somewhere.
Yeah, like old Eskimo boats.
I'm trying to think out of the UK. You're right. I don't know. I don't really know.
It's things exactly. It's like what was available 20 years ago.
If it's got to be
and has survived exactly. So there isn't an awful lot. Is the simple answer, And I think probably the majority of folk, if they are interested in playing the river, they've got a half slice. Yeah. They haven't, most people's quiver doesn't stretch to having a half slice and a full slice and a creek boat if they've got a creek, like, whereas for me, I'm like, well, my half slice is my creek boat and then I have a full slice and, so yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, that's awesome, because, I don't really think about that because here, as being especially the Southeast, you can go out on a river on any given day and there'll be 10 full slice boats. Sometimes people shouldn't be in them on certain rivers, but they make them work.
Well, yeah.
I always say it works until it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And when it doesn't work bad.
You're in a bad place. Yeah.
And that was pretty good because I think as soon as you went back, you started kind of making some content and I started seeing some stuff pop up from you. And it was like a lot of full slice stuff. But you do also have, is it a Gigi Prod?
Yeah. I have a
what is that boat?
The Helixer, the 2018 Helixer, which is they haven't come up with a new one since. So it's the latest iteration of Guillaume Lespeau. I don't know how to pronounce his name properly, but very good French freestyle paddler.
But it's designer. It's carbon, right? Or is it?
Yeah, it's full carbon. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But and then didn't they recently get purchased by EXO, or has that always been a?
They have a partnership. So EXO make all of their plastic versions of the same boats.
They have that in plastic now. The Helixer is in plastic.
That exact boat is available in plastic in 4 sizes. I think they have an extra small, so they have a kids version as well.
I did not know that.
Super cool. Yeah. Yes. So they're making plastic versions of all of his of that particular carbon design, basically. Yeah.
Well, that's something new today. I mean, I think I'd heard that maybe somewhere that it's Gigi Prague, right? Prod,
yeah, like Productions, I think.
Yeah. And I'd heard something that they were going to be doing plastic kayaks. So you're saying now they're molded in the EXO factory.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, it makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Are they located in Italy? EXO and Gigi?
EXO are in Italy, but Gigi, he's in France.
Okay.
Because it's just a guy and he makes all the boats himself. Yeah.
They look good.
It's a brilliant boat. Yeah.
What have you paddled? Have you paddled the Rockstar or the Jed or anything?
I came out of a Jed immediately before that, which I loved, but I'm one of those awkward people that's small in terms of my weight, but I'm probably medium in terms of my size. And I like having that little bit of extra volume in a playboat, but a medium's too big. So I went the custom route basically when I had an opportunity to. I'm not, I'm not a particularly good freestaler.
But you compete, right? You travel around.
I'm aiming to compete. But I'm not, I'm not one of those people that's like gonna hit the GB squad anytime soon. But but I'm keen, and for me, the big thing of getting a carbon boat was definitely the sizing and the fact that I walk from my house to go and train, and so actually having a 9 kilo boat to walk down the road with is much nicer than having an 18 kilo boat. That's simple as that. It's a little bit of laziness and comfort, I suppose.
Could you tell the people listening that hasn't paddled? I paddled carbon boats too. What is there a drastic difference between the carbon and plastic play boats?
100% notable. I think, especially if you're paddling on waves, the stiffness of a carbon hull is so noticeable in terms of if you're coming down a wave, you're bouncing down a wave. In a plastic boat, obviously your plastic will deform when it takes an impact, and it reduces the amount of rebound that you're going to get off the surface of the wave.
Okay.
Where a carbon boat, to a greater extent, won't do that. And so all of the force of that impact is then immediately rejected off. So in terms of amplifying your aerial moves on a wave, it's huge.
So it's more of an advantage on waves than it is a hole.
I guess that's my experience. I'm less of a hole boater than I am a wave boater, just because of where I grew up. We had surf and we didn't have holes, so I went surfing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I find that anyway.
Yeah.
I'm sure that someone who is a very capable hole boater would be able to tell you in minute detail the differences that they feel between a plastic and a carbon boat and a hull.
Yeah.
The fact that it is lighter makes a difference.
Less weight, well. Yeah, less weight.
It makes a difference.
Because fatigue's a major factor when you're play boating.
100%. Yeah. Like if you're someone who's doing competition freestyle and you're wanting to put down a 45-second ride or a minute ride, then actually you'll come away from that minute far less exhausted because you haven't had to throw, an extra 9 kilos of boat around.
Yeah, and you could probably back this up too, because I've been to, I used to go and do a lot of freestyle in holes, and you're talking about getting your stamina in check. You don't realize how bad your stamina is.
Totally.
As a play. Now I'm talking play boating. You could boat. We could rudder down things and style. I paddled 10 miles the other day. I'm like 2 rides in a hole. And then I've seen guys that have been like really good paddlers and they just get their ass kicked in a play boat.
Yeah.
And I'm like, because it's not their style.
Yes.
And you also, having that play boat in your repertoire, like to your freestyle when you're in your creek boat or your longboat or something, and you do get worked. Like you do. And I don't care who you are, it's gonna happen if you're out running.
100%. Yeah.
It's having that play boat background back to I've been in holes and I've rolled over and I'm getting worked and I feel for the current. I'll feel pull and I'm just stay calm. And I've watched good paddlers roll over and go. And one thing that comes back to me was you actually raced the green race in 2018.
Yeah.
And you might know where I'm going with this because we talked
100%. Yeah.
For all my listeners here, Matt came over. He did the green race in 2018. He was in town, and you had not ever paddled anything that steep, probably.
I'd paddle stuff that steep, but never in a longboat.
Yeah, well, that meant in a lot. Yeah, because
and certainly not with a mentality of going fast. Yeah.
And you came down, you were having a pretty good race lap. You came out of Gorilla, and anyone that knows the green knows Nice's hole. And you had a pretty good working in Nice's hole, and you pulled out some of that play boating skills at that point. And you might be a way better play boater now than you were then, right?
Well, maybe in some respects, I suppose. But I think the thing that probably kept me in there was more tenacity than anything else. Like determination that I wasn't going to swim in front of 1,000 people on the bank.
And well, trust me, there's a bunch of people swim the green races. So
well, quite. But I think it's also, keeping your head cool in that kind of situation. As much comes down to drawing on everything you've done before. Like as you were saying, having different disciplines in your arsenal to kind of draw on. I think the value of doing freestyle in full creeking is huge, and likewise the value of doing slalom or doing surf or all those things. It all feeds in, doesn't it? I don't want to claim this is my wording because it's not, but everything we do informs everything we do. Like all things feed in together and assist in you being a better paddler.
For sure, being multidisciplined. I've talked to a lot of paddlers, and being that multidisciplined paddler, makes you well-rounded in everything. But actually, I have the footage here
Oh
if we
no.
can pull it up. So anybody, can you see this pretty good?
Oh dear, there it is. The terrible, terrible mustache.
The fast stash, buddy.
It definitely worked for the top half of the race.
Yeah. So I think you did. It's a short video. I think it's 58 seconds.
Yeah,
Can you
yeah.
see it on your screen?
I've got it. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, some awful trash talk.
What was
There
that?
it is.
Catch a fish in your mouth. What's that mean?
Oh, I was just assuming that, anyone who's going upside down is going to be there long enough
Okay.
to make a decent attempt at fishing.
Let's see. That's not you, I think.
That is me.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So
So I clipped my paddle on the rock as I fell off Gorilla.
let's break this down because I'm sure you've seen it a couple times.
Yeah, yeah. So my paddle clipped on the rock on the left-hand side, the blade.
Over here.
Yeah.
See out of the frame.
Yeah, and then it.
Look at it. Look at your paddle.
Yeah, so it then shot up through my left hand completely. So my left hand's off the paddle, kept it in my right.
Oh wow.
But then and then just flipped in speed trap.
See, because I've seen briefly right there. No hand on the paddle. Now
So you had that moment where I was like reaching for it again but couldn't find it. And then under the water, found it again.
What's crazy is if you look right here, it almost looks like you've swam. And I think that's what
I mean,
because look where your paddle is.
Off to them, because if I had been swimming right there, they needed to get me. So 100% they did the right thing. It's just hilarious that then he kind of flops off my boat as I'm rolling up.
Now here's what actually made you get offline again, because see, you need to straighten up.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'm penduluming on his rope, right? Yeah.
Now look, that right there causes you to almost roll again, but you had a good brace.
Yeah.
Now right here is not good. That angle is not good. That's a whole.
Yeah. Well, I'm just getting dragged straight in there. Yeah, exactly.
But you lined it up. Oh wow, look at that. You did manage to straighten it up a little bit. And then
I mean, obviously there you've got the two options, haven't you? Either you're going right and doing a proper race line, or you're going to head hard left and try and avoid the shoulder of the hole. And I did neither.
You're at like a 60-degree angle here, but you're looking good there. But that's in a green boat. For everybody listen, he's in a green boat that doesn't have a lot of rocker. It's really hard to get over that left-hand side in a green boat. And right there, boom, you caught it to the chest, didn't you?
Straight in, yeah.
And as soon as
and then
did,
I'm a playboater. I feel myself going over, so I throw myself into a back deck, and immediately I don't know whether my hat.
You don't have a paddle right now.
Yeah, so my paddle got ripped out of my hand in that first roll, but obviously the backwash in that hole is it's ideal, isn't it? So I was able to just grab it again when I came up.
This is the coolest thing. When I've seen this is one of the coolest things I've ever seen in the green race beatdown. It's like, for anyone that hasn't seen it, I love this part right here. You come up, you're like, oh shit, you have to be thinking I'm screwed, right?
Oh, I was definitely in that place of like, well, I can get out of this, but it's not going to be easy. But probably more erring on the side of getting out of this might well require an out of boat experience.
The crazy thing is, you look over to your right shoulder, you look over right there, and that is awesome. What were you thinking? There's the paddle.
Oh yeah, I had that moment of just looking down and being like, there's no way. There's absolutely no way. But there it is.
I love that reach and grab. And now probably you started feeling good again now.
Yeah, at that point I was like, yeah, I'm comfortable.
And if you look, the paddle's actually upside down.
Yeah.
You notice that?
And I only flipped it when I actually got out of the hole eventually.
And look at that presence of mind to find the outflow.
Yeah, well, I don't know whether that was presence of mind or whether it was just kind of, I'd seen folks getting out that side before, and well, I say I'd seen folks, I'd done it the day before. I think like my last training lap before the actual race, I had done almost exactly the same thing, minus the 2 extra flips above in speed trap. And I'd still come out with like a fairly decent time. I think I was only just 5 minutes or something the day before.
That's crazy.
Even with a little time in that hole. And so I was like, oh, if I can make this work, I know that I was fast up top. I can still get down and have a decent time. And then stayed in there for like 45 seconds.
When I first seen that video, I was like, oh, you're kidding me. Because I know you were like charging hard.
Yeah, I trained for
you were taking it serious.
Months. Yeah,
you were taking it serious.
Yeah, I trained for about 3 months every day, training with, a couple of people fairly consistently throughout those 3 months, and then anyone else that was turning up, and there were obviously lots of folk, which is amazing. I love that thing about the community of people rolling into town the whole time, and you sit there in the fish top parking lot, and you got like cars and vans rolling in. It's super cool.
Yeah, and when I seen that, I was like shocked, and I was like, see, that's the presence of mind of like someone that's been in like holes and play boated in holes. Given you are in a longboat and it's drastically different to kind of whip, you can't blast them like normally.
No. Yeah, exactly. You could
you surf out of things.
Yeah.
But watching that video of you drop the paddle and then look over, you're like, you roll up with no paddle. Everybody there was like, oh my God. I was running down the bank because I was at top drinking beer and I was seeing you getting work. So I started running down. I was like, yeah. And then you rolled up and you reached over and grabbed it. And I was like, yes. It was like Excalibur. You're like King Arthur pulling the sword out, and you rolled and just side surfed out of it. And I was like, my God, that was an awesome thing right there.
But I mean, it was one of those things that struck me the whole time I was out there training, was paddling with people from the Southeast. Everyone is so comfortable with rock, and people are less comfortable with hydraulics, which I find interesting.
It is interesting. I'm more comfortable with hydraulics, me personally.
Yeah, I know for sure. But like,
I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, a lot of folks being, very, very comfortable running very steep white water, but then as soon as kind of you end up in the wrong place, actually you're more surviving than necessarily driving yourself around. Yeah. And I mean, I say that as someone who very much just showed a video of me surviving, but
no, well, it looked like controlled chaos.
Oh,
it worked out. So you meant to do it. You wanted to get out of the hole, right?
Oh yeah.
Did you accomplish your goal?
I was aiming to stay in, actually. Yeah. I was going for the old Green Race longboat freestyle trophy.
Give some peace signs and wave at the crowd.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's at the point where you were really tired if you made it. If you charged hard, that's also fatigue setting.
Yeah, you're so lactic and out of breath by the time you hit.
Yeah.
I mean, even by the time you get to go left, like you've done all of the flat sections before that, and yeah, so if you've been pushing, then you're already tired by the time you've hit there, aren't you? Yeah,
because I think I messaged you after that, and I was like, dude, way to hang in there and make that shit work. So many people have bailed in that hole and just they hit it, and I'm serious. I watched people drop in it, do one side surf, and pull the skirt in the middle of a side surf. Because they're just like, I'm gonna save my energy and just pull the skirt. I was like,
but I mean, you can see, especially in a long boat where actually seesawing back and forth, you do develop a bit of momentum. You can get out of that hole.
Oh, for sure. And it's not even a bad hole. I've surfed it on purpose. I've gone and went over and done flat spins in a playboat. And I'm like, it's not bad. It's not bad at all.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just the knowledge of like, if I come out of here badly, then I've got a whole other slide that I'm going to go down on my face.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's not the best.
Yeah, man, that was pretty good because, I wanted you to kind of tell that on that. What's one of your, what's your go-to paddle over there? What's your favorite paddle to use for playboating?
This is for playboating. So I have a River Styx, so Jim Snyder.
You use wood.
Yeah, I use wood. I used.
How did you get that in the UK?
It took a while. I managed to get in just before he took his sabbatical. Got my order in, but then it arrived about this time last year. So I've been using that for about a year. And I'm fairly choosy about where I use it at the moment, but Yeah, I really like the lightness of it in terms of the size of the blades. That's
They're
really
small, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's very small blades, so
What
that
size?
makes it's it's 194 and um they're the trick style ones, so they're like fairly small. I couldn't tell you surface area offhand.
Do you do
Yeah,
0 degree offset on it?
not quite, but close. Yeah,
Like 10 or something?
yeah.
15.
I go like 15-ish, 12,
And what's the
15.
reason for that?
Um, ease of being able to use both blades simultaneously. But I found, having tried complete zero before, that it feels like I'm left-handed when I'm using it. Which that's probably, psychological, and it would be something that could be got over, but that's the way it feels.
Is that pretty common for a lot of play boaters to go a very low offset?
Definitely. Yeah. I know, well, the vast majority of people who are paddling freestyle exclusively are paddling with blades that are less than 30, certainly, if not less than 15. Yeah. I now actually, I don't use much above 30 anywhere.
Really?
Yeah.
You just got accustomed to it.
Well, yeah, exactly. I'm accustomed to it, and I find that it makes me so much more ambidextrous in whatever I'm doing. It makes me so much more able to react on my offside, on my left, as I would react on my right.
It's crazy, because I can tell you what, I have a Letman adjustable.
Oh yeah.
And so my Letman adjustable, when I'm creeking or just kind of like river running, I'll run about 30, very low. But if I'm doing like sprint, like higher, I do like almost 60. And I kind of adjust, but I sometimes, I've been finding myself like on the creeks, what you're talking about, I go a little lower than 30 now. And I think you're right. It kind of gives me quickness for moves with the left hand blade.
Yeah, exactly. You're not having to crank your wrists all that, pronate all the way back, which is fine. Like it's not an unachievable thing to do, but it's time, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Time. Yeah. Now what about a creek boat paddle? Do you use that just gem stick for everything, or?
No. I use that for kind of out and out play boating. Usually I would use that in my carbon boat, and I wouldn't really use it elsewhere.
Yeah.
But that's, maybe I'm just still a bit precious about it.
I get it. Yeah.
But yeah, and then have a set of Werners that I found some old blades and then made a shaft for them. Which they're fine, but my creaking blades at the moment, I'm using the Surges.
I love the Surge.
Which I'm enjoying. A 197 Surge.
Probably like a 30 degree offset or something. Kind of like,
well, that's what they're stuck at. Yeah. I got the adjustable ones, and they don't come apart anymore.
What do you mean, like adjustable Surge?
Yeah, it's a 2-piece. Yeah.
I didn't even know there was an adjustable Surge. I don't think I've seen that, a 2-piece.
It's an interesting spigot that they've got on the middle of that, actually.
Do you have it handy right there?
Funny point of order. No, it's in my car.
Okay. I was wondering if you had it behind you.
Yeah, no, but it's not like a traditional spigot where you have the button, the button that's doing the mechanical kind of lock on it. It has like an interior kind of collar that sits into the inside of the other one, the other half, with a series of notches around the outside that you can then, slot in and adjust. I
wonder if they even offer that anymore, dude.
Interesting. I don't know. I got them maybe 2 years ago. So yeah. It might be that it's just
is there any paddles over in the UK that you've used? Like something? Have you?
I haven't. To be honest, I haven't used a lot of. Well, I used to have these, the vertical element.
Hey, what do you think of those? The Air Core. They have
I used to have a set of Air Cores, and I had a set of glass ones from them.
Palm's making those now, from what
which is now, exactly. They're now produced in the Palm factory in Cleveland, and I like them, definitely. The blade shape is quite large, quite powerful. If you're someone who's smaller like me, then actually at times it always felt too powerful. Or sorry, well, it's a lot of strain, you know.
Yeah.
And that was part of the reason why I moved away from them. That and I may have accidentally broken and lost a pair in Madagascar and thought, well, never going back.
Madagascar. Oh, I want to hear about this. You went to Madagascar in kayak?
Yeah.
How was that?
Was amazing. If anyone is wondering about,
what are you, Darwin or something? What were you doing in Madagascar?
If anyone's wondering about an unexplored expedition location, then Madagascar is one of.
I think
I've
seen some video of Tyler Brock. I think he went there one time.
Yeah, they went. Yeah, the like earlier Africa Revolutions tour. That video. Yeah, they went there in the early 2000s. We actually, it's funny, they were there at the same time as us. He and Isaac Levinson went back. For them, it probably would have been 10 something years later.
Yeah.
We were there in 2015, and we bumped into them a couple times while we were driving around, and they were like, "Oh, you should go and try this river or this river." We're like, "Okay, sure, fine, yeah."
What's the river kind of geography there? Is it big water, creeking? What? I mean,
a bit of everything, basically. So you have this huge plateau and escarpment on the east coast, which takes all of the relief rain off the Indian Ocean. It's a mixture of granite and basalt, so you have these like amazing granite rapids, and then it
like
suddenly
slides.
Slides,
just
drops.
Big, huge. Okay.
Yeah. And then it'll hit like a basalt ridge, and obviously basalt's a much softer rock, so it just gets eroded away, and you suddenly have these sections where it's like the earth drops away underneath you, and everything's a siphon. So
wow.
it's really fun, and then it's a sufferfest, and then it's really fun. But yeah, it's an amazing location. The people are so friendly, so hospitable. The food is fantastic. So there's a lot out there, and that's the East Coast, which is all more creaky, I guess, but still big. Like, think the best thing I can compare it to, having paddled in the Southeast, is if you paddled the elk.
Okay. Yeah.
In high water.
Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine the elk in high water, but stretching on for like miles.
That's awesome.
That's what a lot of the character of the rivers out there is. But then on the flip side, you have the West Coast, and the West Coast is all really big volume, but still steep. So you're talking things that are more akin to like
Payette style, or
maybe some of the I've not
paddled
out there, but yeah, some of the boys that had paddled in like Uganda and the Zambezi that I was there with were like, well, this is as big volume as that, but steep, which
and this is all rain fed, right?
It's all rain fed, yeah. Absolutely all rain fed, but obviously they have a monsoon and then they have a dry season. So your best bet is getting out there at the very end of wet season, start of dry season, long enough into dry season that they've had time to rebuild the roads, basically.
Because they just erode away.
Everything washes away. So there are about like, I don't know, 7 to 10 tarmac roads in the entire country. Everything else is shingle and sand, and so it just gets eroded. So yeah, if you're going out there, you need to be prepared to walk.
What type of boat did you take? What kind of boat were you?
I was paddling a Zet Raptor at that time.
The Raptor, that's a classic.
Yeah,
it's a good one too.
Great expedition boat, like
for sure.
Solid, you know. When it's
loaded short, it's a little short than what I'd want, but
yeah, when it's loaded up, you expect to 45 every single drop you do, because you can't boof it.
Yeah,
you can't pencil it. It doesn't want to do anything other than 45. But as long as you commit to that, you're fine.
Yeah. Well, how did you lose 2 vertical element paddles out there? Get onto that.
So we were paddling a river called the Faravore. It was the second river we did out there. It was one of the few rivers that had been paddled prior to us being there. So Tyler and Rush and Isaac had all paddled it. I think in that trip where we overlapped with them, they went back and paddled it a couple of weeks after we did, but they had paddled it 10 years prior. And so we had a tiny bit of beta on it, like the most minuscule, where to get in, where to get out. And everything else was like, it's grade 4, basically, was what we were told. That's a statement.
That's a great description. It's good. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah. And I mean, there were some sections in that river which were just absolutely quality, like big volume double drop, big volume slides, a couple of amazing booths and stuff like that. It was just really, really cool little gorged in sections. Felt really, really jungly, which is actually quite rare for out there. Everyone thinks Madagascar.
Do you have anything on
jungle.
this? Do you have this on your YouTube channel?
I think I do actually. Yeah, I think I might have some throwbacks to some of the Madagascar stuff on there.
Throwback to the Faravore?
Is that Faravore? Yeah, that's the
Faravore.
Yeah, Malagash is an indecipherable language. It's spelt Faravore, pronounced Faravore for whatever reason. Anyway, in fact, that swim where I broke and lost that paddle
in this video?
Is in the video. Yeah.
Well, you know what we're doing, buddy. I was like, I think I might have like screwed it all up trying to watch that video and do everything. I've got a lot of shit going on. I'm not going to do that again. I hope I didn't ruin the video.
That's all good.
Yeah, we'll pick right back up. So
technical difficulties.
Yeah, we won't watch
the joy.
That. Let me get out of that because I've got like 50,000 tabs open on my other screen. Yeah, so get to what you were saying about the swim. That's what everybody likes to hear about.
In short, I think basically it was, as I was describing, it's that granite and then basalt. We hit one of these basalt ridges, and the other thing about Madagascar is obviously it's equatorial, so your daylight, it goes from being pitch black night to being daytime at 6 o'clock in the morning like that, and at 6 o'clock at night it goes from being daytime to being pitch black night like that.
Are they short? Is it short days or does it just go dark really fast?
It just goes, you have like 5 minutes of twilight and then it's dark. So
wow.
Yeah. And so you have to be off the river and set up camp and like eating dinner and everything and ready for bed by 6.
You better watch your time, huh? Or
yeah, totally. And so we were getting to the end of the day, getting to the point where we're like, we need to start looking for a camp. And then we hit this basalt ridge and we're like, oh, we can see where it goes to flat, like, 100 feet down and, 300 feet off further downstream. We can get through this and then find a campsite. We'll be fine. And it was like a stair step of just basalt ridges going down to this next granite section, 100 feet or so down.
Yeah.
In a series of steps that were the water was kind of zigzagging down. It was really, really interesting rapid arrangement. The first section of it was just this really, really closed in hole directly between two of these ridges. And
with no outs on either side.
So it was feeding through on the right-hand side, but then also immediately feeding through a siphon over the ridge down to the next layer. And so all of the other boys made the really sensible decision to use that flow and then just pull a little righty so that they didn't go down the siphon, but did carry on downstream. And I was like, I can see a cooler line. I'll go left over this hole, and then just ended up in the cauldron, got absolutely annihilated in this hole
with gear in your boat and everything.
Yeah, with all of my gear in my boat. Pelly case with all my like malaria medication and my journal and everything in my boat as well. And so then took a working in this hole. My paddle, like I felt it. It was a 2-piece split, and I felt it snap in my hands. Wow. about halfway through this working, and then hand rolled a few times. And I was at that point, I'm still like, there's a way out of this hole. There's always a way out of a hole. I'll find a way out. Stupid. So eventually made the decision to exit my boat and swim. And
I mean, you fought it as long as you could.
If people can go and watch the video and make their minds up whether I could have stayed in longer. But
well, it's easy to watch somebody else's video get marked and be like, you know what, I'd been fine. Bullshit.
Yeah. Well, quite. Yeah. Um, yeah, so swam out of that and then had to walk around the whole, like basically go back up the first ridge, swim across at the top, and then walk all the way around down this cliff and down the side. Um, I know, and I'm still at that point. I'm like, my paddle's gone. I know that for sure. My boat, I think my friends have rescued my boat, so we're all good. I'm pretty sure most of my gear is strapped in my boat. It'll be fine. Not sure about my pelly case with my malaria medication. So I'm there pondering the idea that I might just be letting myself in for 2 months of having malaria.
Yeah, you're thinking long term.
Yeah, as I wander down the bank.
Every little mosquito, you're like, oh God, no.
And then like absolutely miraculously, I found my pelly case just shocked into this siphon on the side of the river. As I was walking down, just spotted a little glimpse of yellow, and I'm like, no way. And it was perfectly wedged into this siphon on the side of the river where no one in the river could have seen it. And I was the only person who could have seen it was
because you were on the bank. Yeah.
Yeah. So just the most ridiculously fortuitous, finding of that. And then the guys had managed to save all the rest of my stuff. But
nice.
Literally no one saw my paddle snapped in my hands and then might as well have just poofed out of existence because
you had a backup, I'm sure, right?
Yeah. We had splits and sets of spares with us because you expect that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But other than that, what was one of the best runs? Was that one of the best runs you had done down there?
It was really cool. I think we'd all probably agree the two runs that we absolutely adored was called the Coupe, which had been done before. That was one of the big volume runs on the west.
Okay.
Central west. Which it was the only day section that we did in the entire time we were there. Everything else was multi-days. But it was single day. You could do it with an unladen boat, which was a dream. And it was just huge volume wave trains and really quite stacked rapids of large holes that just fed into each other, and you had to be really on your game. But it was so much fun, especially as a kind of relief from the long multi-days that we've been doing. But then the other river that we did was called the Avondro, and that was on the west coast. It took us 9 days in the end.
The river, how long? How many kilometers was
it? We did 160 or something kilometers on it.
Wow, that's beast. That's a long.
And it dropped from 1,000 and something meters down to sea level in that time, basically. And it was some of the coolest white water I think I've ever run in my life. It was about 2 days of flat water at the beginning, and then the afternoon of day 3 or whatever, you hit this gorge. We spent 3 days in that gorge, which was 7 kilometers long.
Wow.
Because it was just nightmare.
Just that little gorge was 3 days. Normally that's like a hour and a half.
An hour. 2 hours. Yeah. I mean, we were averaging like 12 to 15 kilometers on an hour on the flat. So
this was the amount of portaging and scouting.
So it was like abseil after abseil, scouting. One point where you had to
when you say abseil, what do you mean by abseil?
As in letting yourself down on a rope vertically.
Oh, okay. Descending.
Descending down.
Descending. Yeah. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. It's one of those things where all of us look back on it and are like, maybe half a month earlier with a bit more water in the river, if we hadn't been being chased by police at the beginning and we'd managed to actually put all our food in and we all brought raincoats, we would have had a whale of a time. So it's one of those ones where I think if you asked any of us, we'd go back in a heartbeat.
Any dangerous wildlife?
No, that's the beauty of Madagascar. There's no big game. So there's
no hippos, no crocs.
No hippos. There are caiman, which are tiny.
I've seen a caiman.
They're like this size. So and they're
just whack them in the head.
They're only in the south. They're only in the south. So if you're anywhere on the kind of northeast side, then you're fine from that. They have all of their snakes are constrictors.
So they're all non-venomous.
They're all non-venomous. Yeah. They have There's like maybe one species of spider that could give you a nasty bite.
Crazy. You would not think that from like
yeah, I know, right?
Country.
Yeah. There's like one species of spider that can give you a bite that might be dangerous in some way, but they're super rare. And they have scorpions, which are nasty, but
they would hurt.
Yeah. But I mean, we were there 2 months. I didn't see a single scorpion.
The biggest thing's malaria, correct? Malaria.
Yeah, malaria is the problem. Dengue's not a problem, but they did recently have various outbreaks of the bubonic plague. So if you want to get some nice middle-aged disease, then
the Black Death took you out.
It's like, yeah,
half of the world's population and me in Madagascar.
Well, quite, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was just 500 years too late.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. So did the bubonic plague or Ebola? Any Ebola?
No, Ebola's clear as well. Okay. And yellow fever likewise it's all clear.
But the main thing is just malaria. Did anyone in your group get malaria?
No, we had a few scares where we were like, maybe this is, but I think it was probably just something we ate.
Yeah, well, that's easy. Or swallowed some water or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
because man, that's awesome. No, that's one thing that I'm familiar with it just from like the Tyler Brought and Levinson. They posted a lot of stuff on that.
Yeah.
Tyler was doing his round.
It was the Wizard's Eye thing.
Yeah, he was doing his sailboat and going around living the dream.
Yeah, so oh man, crazy part of the story is one of the boys who I was with, Leslie. He's a Scottish guy. He's so solid. He's really lovely. Mm-hmm. He was the one who kind of got chatting to Tyler throughout our trip and kind of got all the beta off him.
Wow.
And so at the end of that leg, obviously they had that really bad accident where one of the boys, when they were paragliding in Madagascar. And so they've lost someone to do the leg of their journey from Madagascar over to South Africa in the Wizard's Eye. And so they were like, hey, Leslie, we've been chatting to you. You seem cool. Do you want to just join us on a yacht for a month? Prolong your stay and go to South Africa and then fly home. And he was like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. So instead of flying home with us, he was like, great, I'm going to hop on a yacht.
He stayed in Madagascar.
So he stayed in Madagascar, went and met up with them, and then took a yacht to South Africa, which is just crazy. But that's one of those things. Exactly. It's one of those things where you're like, you'd never turn that opportunity down if it was offered you. And
whatever I have going on, I'm canceling.
Exactly. What an amazing testament to the kayaking community and the way that people just are like, yeah, come on, jump on board, Yeah, literally.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah, Madagascar is one of those where you don't think about it much, but just from the whitewater I've seen, and I tried to watch some of your video here, but I think too much stuff going on with our connection. So I hate that. So anybody that wants to see it, go over to your channel and kind of like scroll through, and you've got some pretty good videos on it. I think I had watched it in the past, but didn't really kind of put it all together.
Yeah.
Until you mention it, then I was like, oh, right here it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. What's your anything else on Madagascar that you got?
I was trying to think.
What was the cops chasing you for? Did you try to get married off to some Madagascar princess?
No, it actually was circumstances beyond our control, I'd like to say. Essentially, that particular river starts in a national park.
Okay.
And turns out the national park, you are not allowed to enter the national park, not even with a permit, if you are not indigenous to that region.
Did you have a guide, indigenous guide?
Yeah. We had a guy called Andre, who's the most solid. If anyone wants to go to Madagascar, look him up.
What's his last name?
Andre Ravoni. If you find me on YouTube, send me a message and I can put you in touch, because he is invaluable. Like, if you're going to Madagascar, you need this guy.
What's the language there?
So it's Malagash, which is the most unbelievably indecipherable language in the world.
It's not like anything.
It's like a mishmash of African languages and Indonesian and Indian, and then like French Creole, kind of all mixed together, because it's an ex-French colony. Wow. as well as all of the cultural mishmash that's come.
I think
from...
I've met a few of those in Louisiana. Yeah. No, I'm just playing.
Yeah. It's a complete mishmash, and it's very, very tribal. So it's like you could go from one town to the next and they won't speak the same language.
Wow, that's common in a lot of those countries. It seems
yeah,
like,
it's really, really difficult. But then the second language is French. So a lot of folks will have at least a basic grasp of French. Yeah.
Is there any English? Is it like
And
English? Is that a language?
Some people will speak English, like so Andre speaks English pretty well. Yeah, but the vast majority of folks, if you can get them to say something in French, then you're doing well.
Yeah,
which is fine. You know, the vast majority, as I said, they're really friendly. The vast majority of people, we got by with a tiny bit of our awful broken French, the little bits of Malagasy that we could learn, and then sign language basically.
Yeah, pointing to this.
Yeah. Most people, a lot of stuff of like, où est le grand cascade? And they'd be like, oh, it's downriver. You're like, perfect, okay.
So back on, so you went into the national forest, and you're not allowed to be in the national forest there.
Well, but the thing is, there was a border post on the national park. They let us in with no questions. Well, they looked at our passports and then said, yeah, you're fine, and let us in. It's like, we're manifestly, 7 white dudes. Like, there's no way we're indigenous to this region. We all have British passports. Like, they shouldn't have let us in the first place. And then we got in and we started driving. And Andre at that point was like, I don't think they should have done that. Like, he was saying how you shouldn't be allowed in here, but he let us in anyway. I'm starting to worry. And we're like, okay, well, I'm sure it'll be fine. And driving to where the put-in was, it was all like a marsh basically where we were going to put in, because it was the source essentially of this river. It was this like high mountain marsh bog kind of thing that was just soaking up all the rain and then feeding it out. And the nearest town to that was about maybe a couple of miles walking away, at the very end of this road in the middle of this park. So we'd driven probably 2 days to get there already.
You didn't run a shuttle, right?
You're not... No. So Andre would drive around and meet us at the sea. Basically was the plan.
He's not a paddler.
No.
Okay.
So
just to clear that up. Yeah, he's not on the water with you.
No. If you're going there, you need to have your wits about you in terms of your paddling. But in terms of your logistics, hire him and you're set.
Yeah. The language, logistics, he takes care of all of it. Yeah.
And driving. Like, you need someone who can actually drive a 4x4 and, actually drive a 4x4, actual off-roading, or no roading, depending on how you look at it. But so we get to this town late in the afternoon, and we're just starting to load up boats. And then on the opposite side of town, we can see, because it's a very flat plain at the top there, you can see a couple of marked like gendarme cars coming down into the town. And Andre's like, you guys need to leave now.
Go.
So we packed up what we thought we needed, which turned out to be about half the amount of food that we were meant to be taking with us. Wasn't ideal. And then paid one of the locals to guide us through the marsh to where the river was, and just left essentially. So it was quite a spicy start to that.
But because the whole trip could have been ruined if you would have hung out there.
I mean, I think probably we'd have all
they would have made you leave.
We would have been jailed for sure.
Wow. Well, that would have been the entire trip was ruined.
Yeah. So Andre spent a day in jail because of that for us, which we were like,
oh, he took you. Yeah, he took.
Okay, man. You guys.
Like a true gangster.
Yeah. Well, quite. Yeah. So
jail in Madagascar. Wow, that would be interesting. Who knows what? It could just be a little hut, right? Who knows what the jail looked like?
I didn't manage to get enough details out of him, to be honest. But yeah.
Well, that's awesome, man. Yeah, that's pretty.
So I guess the advice would be go to Madagascar, but get a good guide like Andre, or specifically get him. Yeah. And be cautious with where you're going, and probably be a bit more culturally sensitive than we were when we were out there.
Get a little more beta. A little more bait on put in.
I mean, the
out.
difficulty, of course, is that there isn't much, like I could probably point on a map to basically everywhere that we went, but that's probably about as much as anyone can do out there.
Yeah. After that, you're on your own.
Yeah, pretty much. And I could probably point to roughly where some of the rapids were and like that sort of thing. But yeah.
What is well we'll switch gears here. What is your go-to dry gear over there? Like, do you use Peak or Palm?
For me, I use
where you're at now in the UK, not
sure, yeah. I'm part of I'm part of the American fan club, so I use IR stuff.
Oh,
okay. But I mean, that's not particularly common over here, understandably.
Almost none.
Yeah. It was about sort of 5 years ago, but then obviously imports just been getting hiked every year, and it's becoming much more expensive to get stuff from abroad.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I love the IR stuff. It's good.
Yeah, well, there's nothing new you can tell me or anything about IR. I was hoping you had something that
no, I'm afraid I'm not a UK
loyal to
a UK rep.
You're using Warner paddles, Jimmy sticks.
Yeah.
What about your skirt? You even have a you have an IR skirt?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they're bomb-proof, aren't they?
What's one of your favorite go-to runs in your local area there?
Or I grew up paddling a river called the Upper Dart in.
Okay, I've heard of that one.
Yeah, on Dartmoor. Everyone probably heard of Dartmoor, even if you haven't heard of much else in the UK. Famous for the Hound of the Baskervilles and Princetown Prison.
Yeah, I don't know what any of that is.
Oh, really? Hound of the Baskervilles
I don't even know that. The
Hound of the Baskervilles. Hound of the Baskervilles.
No, what is that? Explain.
Oh, it's a Sherlock Holmes story all
about. I'm familiar with Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah,
Watson and all that.
Yeah,
okay.
It's the story of the giant dog that haunts Dartmoor and kills people, and Sherlock Holmes solves it, and it turns out to just be a regular old dog that's been starved, basically.
Okay.
And then
that's called Cujo here in America. A rabid dog. You ever heard of Cujo?
No.
Yeah, it's a movie. It was Cujo the dog. He got rabies and he killed all these people.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, I guess maybe similar.
It probably was. Yeah, but there was no crime to be solved.
Yeah, there you go. But so I grew up paddling in that area. It was the closest white water to me. So yeah, that holds a very special place in my heart. It's where I have been desperately trying to increase and encourage the Slicy boat scene, because it's one of those rivers where the majority of folks paddle it in kind of low water conditions where it's amazing for slicing. It's just boulder garden, like never gets above kind of grade 4, never drops below grade 3.
Yeah.
For about 6 kilometers. So it's just a really lovely section for getting out in a Slicy boat and having some fun. So I've been desperately trying to organize a rodeo on that section.
Like downriver freestyle type?
Yeah.
I love the downriver freestyle.
Like Green River rodeo style rodeo.
I love those styles. Yeah, downriver freestyles where it's at. Well, yeah, man, I did notice that you recently picked up a ripper, right?
Yeah, I have. I've recently been converted to the ripper.
Small, medium, large? Which one?
Small, yeah.
Okay.
I've paddled the medium before and it was fine. It's one of those things where, I'm using it as a creek boat and as a play boat as well. So I found that with the medium, I just didn't get enough play out of it. Although interestingly, I think I found the medium easier to maintain on the stern. There must be some ever so slight tweak in the way that the design is.
Maybe I don't know. It's right behind the cockpit.
Yeah. It's interesting that, I guess obviously the medium's the boat they make first. So that's the true ripper in the sense, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas the small has been modified to make it work for a smaller person.
What's the and you're liking it a lot there. You're liking
Oh yeah. I mean, as I said, I had those years where I was just strapped in an RPM and refused to believe that anything else was worthy. And then got to a point where I was like, actually paddling a boat with a round hull is just not aiding my progression at all. Like, I'm learning nothing. I'm gaining not very much.
You're being stifled. Yeah.
I'm paddling lazily. I'm not really gaining much. I need edges again. And so then have made the transition slowly back. I think the delirious probably helped with that transition.
Oh, for sure. That's going way aggressive. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So kind of, yeah, finding the Goldilocks zone and going back into a ripper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, which I'm definitely liking it. It's, again,
how is what is the like the top full slice over there? What do you see mostly? I mean, a half slice. What do you see a lot of people half slicing?
I would say probably the Ripper is one of, I mean, understandably, Piranha being a UK based company, like they definitely have a pretty strong hold on the market here. The Ripper certainly for most of the last few years has been the dominant.
Have you paddled any of those offshoots like the Machete, the Letman Machete?
Yeah, that is becoming more, well,
have
the
you been in
manufacturers? I've not been in one, no.
Okay.
But yeah, the smaller manufacturers, well, smaller, they are still large, aren't they? But yeah, they're kind of making inroads. They're kind of making inroads in the UK as well. EXO are getting much bigger now. Yeah, they've made a big inroad, but the big dominant new kid on the block, I guess, in the UK is definitely Waka.
Oh yeah, you've had some Waka boats, right? Yeah.
I've had various Waka boats over the years.
Yeah, have you paddled that goat?
No, I've not paddled the goat. No, I'm not attracted to it.
It's not very playful. It's a river runner.
Yeah, well, exactly. Like, I'm not attracted to it as well because of this. Like I said, I'm small, and I think obviously it is a smaller person's boat, but Waka boats are still super wide, and I like having that little bit of narrowness and that little bit of like kind of point and go, and yeah, being able to turn on a dime really easily. And I haven't paddled one, like I said. I can't.
Yeah. Have you been into Chile? The Zet Chile? That's probably common over there.
No, again, I haven't got hold of them. But there again, it's more of a kind of chine, the kind of classic Zet way of doing things, of not having a really hard edge.
That is true.
Yeah, and I
was
in a 5.
They kind of round their edges. It's I get where
I got in a 5 once, and I paddled when I used to live in Nottingham, and I was paddling at the course there a lot, and managed to get hold of a few different demos on different days, and paddled the Z5, and I just instantly was like,
great boat.
It's a great boat. It's great, but actually, if I'm not wanting to, just bomb downstream, I'm not going to have much fun in this.
Yeah, probably where you're at, the Ripper is more suited for your style.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the thing. It's the boat for me. Yeah.
What is so you currently don't even own a creek boat?
No. Well, I call the Ripper my creek boat for sure.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I sold the 9R and replaced it with a Ripper.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
What is on the last thing here, what is kind of like your favorite playboat move?
Oh, that's a good question. The thing
I know they're all my favorite. The flat spin, favorite move.
I love the flat spin. The thing that I have been really enjoying recently, and I mean, I'm probably stretching the question here a little bit because you said playboat move.
Okay.
It's a playboat move, but I'm taking it out of a playboat, which is reverse phonics initiation, but doing it in a long boat. Okay, so you're coming, so you're coming backwards into a hole, and then
do you reach to do the crossbow?
So then you crossbow on the back deck and ramp the boat round, and you need the right hole for it. You need a quite steep, blasty kind of hole, but it will just ramp round up into a blast. And I've been experimenting with that in the Ripper recently, and I absolutely love it. It's just such a silly move, but it's so satisfying when it goes right, because you're really not having to put much effort in. Does
it have a name, or is it just a reverse phonics?
I don't know. I think probably reverse phonics is the actual technical name, but you would have to actually do a back loop from it.
That's what I was thinking. A phonics is plant, crossbow, then loop. So you're not doing a loop. You're more like a rotating back.
Yeah. So it's. I guess it's probably. It doesn't have a. I don't know if it has a name. If it doesn't have a name, I'm gonna have to try and think of something. But
there you go. Because
it's probably like what a reverse crossbow blast initiation.
There you go.
But that's just super lame, isn't it?
Well, everybody listening, leave in the comments below what you think we should call this move.
Yeah, you know? But I mean, like I said, it's something that I'd seen people doing in playboats as the start of a reverse phonics, so I can hardly claim it. But I don't think I'd ever seen anyone do it in a boat that was longer than 6 feet. Yeah. So.
No, I love myself. I love doing moves and half slices and creek boats personally. I do paddle full slice a lot in the summer and golly when that kind of comes around. But after that, I usually put my full slice up. Like this time of year, you'll see me mostly in a creeker or a half slice. Yeah. And longboat if there's racing or something, but I'll get back in a full slice when the Akoi starts back, and it's just fun full slice and just working the Akoi really good. Have you seen the Supernova and Nova? You seen anything on those?
I haven't. I mean, obviously they've only got a couple of them.
They are over in the UK.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, I haven't encountered any yet.
Okay.
I'm keen to. Yeah,
I think you're gonna really like this boat.
Yeah, it looks like it's actually a full slice, as opposed to the Ozone.
Yep, and when you roll the hull over, I think you're gonna really love it.
Okay. All right. Well,
we're all keeping it a big secret, but we'll see how that pans out.
Yeah.
Well, Matthew, I appreciate you coming on, man. I'll let you get off here and get back to it. How can people get a hold of you here?
Yeah, YouTube's the easiest way at the moment, I think. Matthew Brook Coaching on YouTube, and look for the man in the yellow delirious. There
you go. And if you guys, I've been following Matt's channel, and if you're not subscribed to it, go over and subscribe to it. He just put while I got you on here, what is a TVF Pop Pro? What is that?
Oh, it's a
for people listening.
It's the you know the old like Jackson Happy thruster thing?
I do.
Yeah, it's in my opinion, a far better version of the same thing, made by one of the guys over here in the Thames Valley. TVF is Thames Valley Freestylers.
Okay.
Just a really nice guy called Gareth who's been running the TVF kind of community for years.
And these are available online?
Yeah. He's got pre-orders going out at the moment. And it's like the Jackson one, but better in every way, because it actually, holds air and doesn't leak. And
I watched your video, and it looks very well constructed, where the Jackson
it's incredibly
like
well made one.
Beach ball.
Yeah, it's incredibly well made and actually has enough volume in it that it does the job that it's meant to do of connecting you to the boat and also giving you extra volume under the deck. So
and you use this in a full slice also. This is not exclusively for spud boaters.
Yeah, absolutely. I use I use it in a half slice as well. I just don't use the thruster section. I just use the
looks like a big wanker sticking out.
Yeah, it's like there's something definitely kind of carry on-ish innuendo wise going on there. Yeah.
But it functions well. Like because it cushions under your thighs and helps push your thighs up.
It fully like takes up the space underneath your thighs and pushes you into your thigh hooks. So it's actually connecting you to the boat in a really meaningful way, in the same way that those kind of like ratchet leg lifters in the dagger boats do. Yeah,
because I ran something like that for a little while back in the day with foam. I used to make foam blocks to lift my legs up into the thigh hooks. Got away from it, but I like the looks of this thing. So
it's really good. It's really good.
And if anybody listening wants to check that out, just go over to his channel and type in TVF Pop Pro Duo.
It's a really wordy name, and it turns out I got it wrong as well when I was speaking. In the title of the video is correct. Whenever I say it in the video, I get it the wrong way around.
Hey, exactly with me with reviews. If I go back and I'm like, oh god, you idiot, you moron. But it's already made. I'm like, I'm not making that whole video again. Screw it.
It's one of those antics Jacksons. I don't know. Just
roll with it. All right, Matt. Yeah. So anyone curious, keeping up with you, go over to Matthew Brook Coaching, and you can subscribe to his channel and check out his videos there. He's got a lot of videos on anything from freestyle, and they could also check out what we talked about, the Madagascar. Yeah. So, all right, man. Well, I'll let you get off here. And dude, I appreciate you coming on. And we will
Pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
see you later, man. All right. See you,
Yeah. See
buddy.
you around.
All right. Bye.